What if I told you the spaces we live in, the tools we use, and the cities we build aren't just evolving, they're thinking? Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Tonic Talks. I'm Imad Hanna, Associate Professor at the American University in Dubai, specializing in digital design fabrication technology and AI-driven design. Tonic Talks isn't just a videocast, it's a movement. We're here to talk about what happens when technology meets imagination. And broadcasting from Dubai, a city that doesn't just dream big, it builds big. We draw inspiration from its determined ambition to redefine what is possible every single day.
And I am Poupak Parvaresh, Assistant Professor of Interior Design at AUD. My work explores the borderland between sociology, psychology, and design, focusing on how people and spaces shape one another. Today, we're starting an exciting conversation that's at the heart of innovation. How technology, especially AI, is changing the way we design, build, and live. It's not just about new tools, it's about new ways of thinking, creating, and solving problems. At the Center for Research, Innovation and Design in AUD, we believe the future isn't something we wait for, it's something we create. And our series of videocasts is a space to bring together diverse perspectives, inspiring ideas, and meaningful conversations about what's next.
To help us kick off this journey, we are thrilled to welcome HAYDEN Federico, Associate Architect at Buchan. And Buchan is a global design studio with a portfolio spanning retail, commercial, mixed-use residential, and hospitality projects. Buchan is known for their ability to combine creativity, innovation, and strategy. And today, HAYDEN will share how Buchan is integrating AI in their design process to push boundaries and redefine what is possible. So, here is the big question: can artificial intelligence really transform the design process? And if so, how?
HAYDEN, thank you for joining us today for our very first episode of Tonic Talks. We're so excited to have you here. And to start, please let us know a bit more about Buchan and your role as an associate architect.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Poupak and Imad, for having me here today. Really appreciate the invitation, and I'm excited to share some insights into the topic of AI in design and especially architecture. So Buchan is an Australian-based company, and we're about 130 odd years old, and we've been established in Australia for obviously a very long time. So it's no surprise that to be a company that has had the longevity that we have, you have to continue to evolve with the times and understand where the market sits and where it's going. And this conversation around AI is extremely important in terms of the next transition for what Buchan has to offer in the industry. So that's something that we're focusing on quite heavily as a business at the moment, how it can improve the way that we work and how we can utilize it to the best of its abilities and improve the way that we do things. So my role at Buchan as an associate architect is to lead teams and projects from a design, but not just a design point of view, but also a delivery point of view. So at the moment, being Dubai-based, I manage teams here in Dubai as well as back in Australia, and I manage that time difference with a bit of difficulty, but we always work through it. So that's a key portion of my role. I established my role in the business as a designer specifically, and then grew into the kind of project management side, and now I'm an associate and leading teams. So that's a bit about me.
Interesting. And I mean, a lot of things happening now, especially with technology. And we've been always fascinated with how actually, us in academia, we've been fighting a lot and trying to make sure that it's implemented. And there is this part about the industry, and I felt somehow there is a technophobia kind of thing. People hesitant about adopting AI or I mean, technology in general can be a bit, overwhelming, especially for people that are used to do things in a specific way. And then all of a sudden they have to rethink the whole way they are designing, the whole way that they are actually doing their workflow and their activities within the office. We would like to know, actually, after this beautiful introduction of yours and getting to know more about yourself, the company, and being established here in Dubai, a city that keeps reinventing itself, a city that actually accommodates all these brilliant minds, especially in technology. How you are implementing artificial intelligence in your design process, and how your people, your designers, your architects at Buchan are actually getting involved in this transition.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to share that insight. So for Buchan, we're implementing AI in multiple facets. So design is one portion of it, and I will definitely be focusing on that during this conversation. But we also focus on AI in the way that we can streamline our business and our workflows. So within our company, we have a head of technology who is abroad of all of the new advancements in AI and technology in architecture, but outside of that, the business of architecture as well. So from a business perspective and in terms of rationalizing our workflows, we've set up an internal ChatGPT type internal program. It's called Copilot. Copilot sits within our internal servers, so it doesn't have access to all of the external servers and websites, so it's not corrupt by information that we don't know is correct. So we've trained this AI platform to essentially help us and help our business find things easily. So it's streamlining our workflows. So we're testing that across the board to continue to improve it. And that's something that we're finding really, really beneficial as a business and as a practice. But from a design perspective, it's interesting, the transition into AI. It reminds me of the transition from 2D CAD into 3D software.
Exactly.
It's true.
And there was hesitation back then, and those that fought against it, they found themselves left behind. And I think that we're at that critical point again where it's happening. So if you're not going to embrace it, you may be left behind. And if you're not understanding what's out there, then you kind of...
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, you remind me about these days, and a lot of people were actually trying to slow down the shift, thinking that, what is the artistic touch? We've been used to Sketch doing things in a certain way, and then now the CAD or the computer-aided design is going to replace all of these people. And then people realize that it's basically about optimizing the design process, making these repetitive tasks slightly easier by actually the aid of computers. And here we go, the history keeps repeating itself. And I love the fact about, actually I liked what you mentioned about people might be left out, and they will wake up at some point and feel like, okay, we should have actually started earlier embracing and implementing this technology to apply these changes and be at the forefront of this actually technological revolution.
But I spoke with many of our fellow friends that are practicing in firms outside academia. And one of the main concerns that I keep hearing from them is that what about the human touch? How we can keep this balance between the AI efficiency and the level of creativity that so-called human have. What do you think about this?
I think that side will never be neglected. AI at the moment is only as good as the information that you put into it. So even if you're doing text to image or image to image prompting, the information that you feed it is the critical part, and that right now is the human touch. Don't get me wrong, I've seen examples of people going to ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT to give them a prompt for an AI generative image. So that is an example of how it can be done completely with AI, but the result that you're getting is not going to be exactly what you want.
Exactly.
And we find ourselves in an area where the work that we're doing is very specific. We've designed something to look a certain way or to be planned a certain way, to feel a certain way. If you're not adding in those personal touches before you start to, use the AI generative design processes, then you're not going to get the result that you're after, and you're not going to get a consistent result that your client might be looking for within your services as an architect or a designer. So the human-centric side at the moment is still very, very important.
That's good to hear.
No,
Promising.
actually, I cannot agree more. Like you said, and I always used to say one of the things every time I'm in a conference and I get a similar question. I say who we are at the end of the day, but a reflection of our environment. So everything that you want to feed for this learning model, at the end of the day, it's you.
Yep.
It's your human touch, and it's going to be reflected in the output somehow. So I think we should not be scared, like you mentioned, and what you're doing at the Buchan office is basically something impressive, and it's been reflected in your work as well.
It's interesting though, because you talk about, it's the individual person's input into what the AI is reading, but as a business of over 200 people, we have to be one Buchan, and we have to be a consolidated vision and approach and output. So how do you achieve that? We're using AI that's driven by a bunch of individuals. So what we are currently processing, or what we're developing at the moment, is an internal generative design bot, which essentially is trained on Buchan. So it knows us, it knows the work that we've done, it knows the styles that we design in, and it knows the types of architecture that we work in. So we've trained this bot through Leonardo. So we're toying with Chrome AI and Leonardo generative design at the moment. But through Leonardo, what we're finding is that you can set up your own little system. And what that's helped us do is ignore all of the external references that might convolute our approach to design and be more targeted towards what we're actually inputting and outputting. So there's that side of things. There's the really technical building your own systems, AI systems, but then there's also the IP that's involved in your prompting and your seeding. So what we have internally is a prompt library and a seed library. For those that aren't aware, a prompt is what you put in to generate an image, and a seed is when you've created an image or a feel or an atmosphere within an image that you really like, you can seed that image itself, and then it'll allow you to continue to replicate the same style of image. Or if you're doing it for one building, then it'll allow you to take multiple views of a model, and then you've still got the same building. So we have a series of libraries that sit internally within the company that allows us to streamline the process of prompting, get the best out of the AI systems at the moment. But they're always continuing to advance and develop, and they're going to get much, much better. So we're always looking forward to see what there is that is new and how we can utilize that as a business as well.
I think this approach addresses to great extent the question of ethic, how you keep the originality of the work. This is when you said something internal, how it reflects your touch rather than something generic. So it's very promising to discuss something.
I've had this argument. I've had this conversation with many people in our business and outside of our business as well. I think that as a designer using AI as a tool, and I think you have to stress that it's only a tool, it's not designing for you. You know roughly what you want to get out of it. It's an extension of your personality and your thoughts, basically. So as a designer, when you're driving that tool, it may not get it right the first time, but you've got a vision for what you want an image to look like, and you'll progress that image until it looks the way that you want it to. So when we look at Chrome AI, for example, you've generated an image and it looks a certain way, and you're not quite happy with it, so you can start to delete, mask, change, and tweak the image until it hits a point where you'd be happy with it. So I still think that there is a role of the designer in this whole conversation, because AI is, like I said before, only as good as the information that you put into it.
That's amazing to hear this information from a professional like you, because I know there are a lot of people out there, maybe they're not really familiar, or at least they're in the process of learning. And I can see, because of ChatGPT mainly, and its wide impact on almost everyone globally. So people start to learn more about artificial intelligence from its different aspects, I would say. Because we're focusing on design, we're designers, we're architects here, so we're trying to narrow it down a bit and actually revolve around this area where we specialize. But for those out there that are not really familiar with Leonardo AI or Prom AI and Midjourney, maybe you've heard more about Midjourney. It's commonly used, but I understood because I've been using Leonardo AI personally to create or to train my own model with feeding actually your own designs and making sure that the outcome is reflecting you. And this is a part where people don't know usually. And I wanted to shed a bit of light so they can follow up on what we are doing and what are these platforms about. So a slightly difference between Midjourney, where you can generate outcome and try to actually do the ideation, the iteration of the prompt to achieve a certain outcome. Leonardo AI has another actually built in, because it can be done also with Midjourney, correct? But you have to outsource or get a code to connect the bot or the platform, the learning model, with the training system. It's built in Leonardo AI, and you will get actually to work on training your own model to get an outcome that is aligning with your design, your style, and so on and so forth. So your guys are ahead in the game, I can see.
Yeah, it would seem that way. Further to that, we're not just doing it based on our singular style. We're also we've developed our own bots that allow us to look at the different sectors that we work across as well. So we've trained a bot on our hospitality portfolio, our commercial portfolio, our retail portfolio. And then even further down, you break it down into subsectors. So retail gets broken down into large mixed-use centres, into super regional shopping centres, into the little local neighbourhood centres. So you can start to train these models on whatever it is that you want them to be able to get the output that you'd be looking for.
I think this is the Dubai inspiration. Here you have to be ahead with technology, whatever you're doing. The competition is high, and people always trying to evolve, to be creative, to be as innovative as possible. Poupak, what do you think?
I think that's correct, but something that always keeps me busy is, as an architect, I see that the relationship that I build with the client is mainly visual. So to explain the concept in terms that, let's say in residential context or commercial context, the client are not coming from the same background and profession, so you cannot really use the same language that you use with your colleagues at the office. So I think AI in this particular way is very helpful to make this communication much more easier between you and the client, to deliver the idea and to make them understand the space that you design. But I would like you to tell us more about your experience, how it impacts in any way the relationship that you build with client, how much they welcome, how much they hesitate.
It's a really, really interesting relationship, because we are extremely precious of the work that we put out and what gets put in front of a client. And AI comes with a high level of risk. So you're not 100% sure what it's going to give you. It's so flexible at the moment that it gives you a vast range of outputs. And as a design firm, for us to be able to utilize AI and put it in front of a client straight away poses a lot of risk. So we don't put a lot of the AI images in front of clients. We use them for internal purposes only, for iterative design, development. We might be looking at certain aspects of a building. So we would, generally speaking, we wouldn't use the AI generative design for an entire building. We would look at it in terms of its broken down components, and we would study certain areas to come up with different ideas. But we would do that internally. Very, very rarely would we put one of those images in front of a client. The only examples that I can think of that we would consistently put an AI generated image in front of a client is when we were sourcing a specific mood image or something that would go into a package for a look and feel, or to create some sort of atmosphere or description of what we're trying to achieve. So we would use the likes of Midjourney for something like that, where we would just do text to image prompting to, for example, get an image of a person walking down a laneway. It might be critical to some sort of interior concept that we're working on. So we would prompt that instead of trying to source through the entire internet to find the perfect image. We would use something like that to streamline our workflow, and those images do get in front of clients. So we, like I said, we're very precious what we put in front of a client, and how they react to images is, as you said, it's all about the image to them. They want to know what it looks like. So we'll always keep that away from them. They are aware that we use AI. I think anyone in the industry would be ignorant if they said that they weren't aware that most designers were at least playing with AI as a tool, not a toy. It's definitely not a toy. It's a tool.
I like that.
But yeah, it's an interesting relationship.
But does it facilitate the internal communication between the team members?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what it's found is that historically our business has a core group of designers, and we've always got new people coming through that are, interested in design and are passionate about design. But we've even got people that sit on the technical side of our business now that have started to play with AI, and they're having an opinion about design. So what I've found that it's done for the culture of our business is it's shifted it from this is the technical stream and this is the design stream, and now everybody has an opinion and a discourse, because those that weren't quite able to before but they could explain it now have an avenue to be able to articulate and show what they might have been thinking about. It's really broken down the barriers between the different areas of our business to be able to have a stronger design discourse within Buchan.
I recall the days in 2016, actually, when Autodesk launched generative design, and it was a very hot topic back then.
Yeah.
And it's been used mainly with Fusion 360, and I wanted to implement this in our classroom activities. It was a bit challenging, but if you look at the outcome of it, like this whole ideation, and to refer back to what you said, Hayden, which is inspiring for sure. I mean, how we are using generative AI for the moment, actually to create the design process. There is still a huge load, I would say, on each individual designer or whoever is actually working on executing the model to finalize the outcome. But all of these ideas can be generated, or actually we can get inspiration while visualizing our actually blueprints at the beginning with a very short amount of time. And this can be achieved within like few minutes, I would say.
Absolutely.
Where it used to take a couple of days. So imagine the process that and the progress that we achieved actually within like few years. And I'm looking forward to see in a couple of years and 5 years from now how things might look like. So to conclude, I want to ask you, I mean, what is your message as an individual, as an architect, like a brilliant creative designer, and also the company as Buchan. So what is your message for all our friends out there that are listening to our podcast and they want to have the essence of your experience, I would say?
Yeah, I think don't be scared of the tool. Embrace it. Start to understand it. The more that you understand it, the more you can figure out how you can implement it into your workflow and use it for your advantage. It's not going anywhere. It's here now. So you may as well start to understand it whilst you still can, whilst everyone is still learning. There are some people that are extremely advanced in their understanding of the software and the technologies, but there are some that are still starting. So if you haven't started yet, start. But at the same time, I would say just remember that AI is a tool, not a toy. Okay, so it's there to assist you in your design process. You can play with it as much as you want, but the danger is that you're going to go down a rabbit hole of, sitting there doing multiple images. You've wasted 3 hours. You needed to do something in 1 hour, and it can drag out the design process as well. So there's a real danger in not streamlining your workflows if you don't use it efficiently. But I think I would also say is that as a purist and one that, still draws with pen and paper, it's now iPad pen and iPad, but
digital version of it.
Digital version, yeah. But just remember that design is anything that you want it to be, and whether or not you decide to stick with the pen and paper or go down the AI route, as long as you're critically thinking about the input and the output and always exploring and iterating for the best design outcome, then that's the most important thing.
Interesting.
I think I will borrow this quote from you that AI is not a toy, it's a tool for my design studios, and keep using it.
Exactly.
Now referring to you.
Please.
Thank you so very much for being with us today. That was amazing conversation and so inspiring to see where Buchan stand in terms of embracing new technology and your personal perspective on it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hayden. It was really inspiring, I believe, a lot of information, and we're looking forward actually to see how your company is progressing, and we would love maybe to look forward for an upcoming episode where we can discuss in more depth your work and analyzing some of your projects.
I would love to. Yeah, thank you very much.
That's so inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to our audience out there, this is just the beginning. Stay tuned as we explore how technology is shaping our world in ways we have never imagined.